You're listening to
I Don't Do Sci-Fi.
Episode 4. If I'm to teach you one thing, it's this.
Hello and welcome to I Don't Do Sci-Fi. I'm Rebecca Ray, and with me are John Isles.
Hello.
And Dani Ray.
Hi!
Last time we showed Dani the 1970s BBC series Blake 7, which Dani, although she thought was slow at first, she did start to get into it and enjoy it. This episode, we're going to focus on the 1990s CBBC series Dark Season. To remind listeners, we begin the episode by listening to Dani's reaction for a few minutes, followed by a review panel. So before we get into discussing our chosen sci-fi, I want to introduce our guest for this episode, Amber Isles, daughter of our host, John. So how are you doing, Amber?
Alright.
Good. Are you looking forward to taking part in this panel?
Maybe.
Maybe. Are you a bit nervous, Amber? It's your first time on a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll do fine. I'm sure you'll do well. Just to introduce yourself a bit to the listeners, do you want to tell us how old you are?
I'm 12.
And what kind of things do you like watching, Amber?
Some sci-fi things and like fantasy and stuff like that.
Oh, what like?
Like Doctor Who or...
What are you watching at the moment?
Well, I'm watching series on Netflix. Well, I did watch Stranger Things.
All right. You like Stranger Things?
Yeah. And then I also like animes.
Oh yeah, which ones?
I like Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia. There's this one called Spy X Family.
I hear you also like Agretzko.
Yeah.
And did you like She-Ra, Princess?
Yeah.
What was it? And the Princesses of Power?
Yeah.
And you said earlier Doctor Who. Could you clarify? Is that just new modern Doctor Who, or have you watched older stuff? Which Doctors have you seen?
Like, fully I've watched the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th.
Yeah.
And then my dad's shown me like 1 or 2 episodes that are like the first Doctor.
What did you think of the first Doctor?
It was kind of boring because like it's old.
Because of what?
Because it's old.
Because it's old. Because it's old and black and white and a bit slow. Or rather, it's slower than what you're used to by Netflix modern standards.
It's definitely slow. I'll agree with you on that, Amber. Yeah.
It can take some getting used to, but it's rewarding when you do start getting used to the pace of older shows.
Yeah.
And you might have found Dark Season a bit slower as well.
Maybe.
We'll get on to that. Dark Season was a children's show, and we thought it'd be interesting to hear not only Dan's fresh perspective on the show, but also would a child today also be interested in an older children's drama. So, what is Dark Season? It was a 1991 6-episode children's drama which was created by Russell T Davies, who at the time was a CBBC staff producer, keen to progress to writing drama. He managed to take advantage of a gap in the schedules at the time when Tony Robinson asked to take a year off from writing popular children's show Maid Marian and Her Merry Men. Dark Season tells the story of a trio of slightly odd school kids. The intellectually gifted but socially awkward Marcy Hatter, played by Victoria Lambert, and her 2 older and more savvy friends, Thomas and Reet, played by Ben Chandler and Kate Winslet. Yes, that Kate Winslet. The trio becomes suspicious when a mysterious tech entrepreneur called Mr Eldritch shows up one day at their school, promising to donate a free computer to every child. Soon the friends are unravelling a sinister plot to enslave the whole world through the misuse of cybernetics and artificial intelligence. Although it was intended as a mere schedule filler, Dark Season was well received as continuing the tradition of creative and intelligent British children's drama. It earned a novelisation and would be twice repeated. When Dark Season was released on DVD in 2006, the show received renewed attention. Russell T Davies, or RTD as he's come to be known by everyone, has gained a reputation as one of TV's premier scriptwriters, and Kate Winslet has become an international film star. Astonishingly, Victoria Lambert returned to the role of Marcy in 2021 to record an audiobook version of Dark Season for Big Finish Productions. Perhaps even more astonishing is that Big Finish are now producing a second series of Dark Season in audio drama form. RTD returns as the writer, along with all the original cast members, seeing Victoria Lambert, Ben Chandler, Bridget Forsyth, Grant Parsons and Kate Winslet reunited again after 32 years.
So with introductions done, we're going to travel back in time a few days and listen to some moments from Dani, Amber and Rebecca watching Dark Season. Now, I wasn't there for this, so you, listener, will get to hear this when I do. Let's hear how it went.
So I'm here today with Dani and Amber Isles, and we're going to be watching Dark Season. So, do either of you know anything about Dark Season?
No.
Have you heard of it before?
Yes. My dad was watching it the other day.
Ah, okay.
So I tried not to look at it because I knew it was the...
Ah, well, that's good. That's where you've heard of it from. What about you, Dan? Have you heard of it before?
Yeah.
Where from?
You.
So
again, it wasn't really...
So other than in relation to us saying you're going to watch this for the podcast, neither of you have ever heard of Dark Season before?
No.
So this is going to be quite a surprise. Knowing it's a children's BBC series, what are your expectations?
I was a CRTV girl when I was a kid, so we'll see.
We'll see. What about you, Amber? What are your expectations?
I don't really know.
This title isn't giving any clues, really, is it?
The only thing I think Demon Headmaster. I've never seen Demon Headmaster, but I feel like it's going to be the same.
Okay. Have you ever seen Demon Headmaster, Amber?
No.
No. I think we should dive straight in then, given how cryptic this is going to be for you, so let's see how it goes. Pressing play. We're introduced to Marcy, Reet and Thomas for the first time. Dark Season's peculiar pastel-shaded fashions seldom escape mention in reviews, and it doesn't take long for Dani to raise comment.
Yes, this was unfortunately fashion back then.
So they're predicting what... Because at this point, the fashion was these kind of clothing, but fluorescent, and they predicted, maybe it'll switch to more duller, pastel-y kind of colours.
I mean, they did, in all fairness,
we did have
pastels
pastel
did
in the
happen.
80s, yeah.
Pastel did happen.
What else occurs to you about what they're wearing?
It's non-uniform.
Yeah? Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I just assumed it was a non-school uniform day, not...
They never
Could
have a
be.
uniform. It's very odd.
Oh, that's weird.
It's school assembly time, and the incompetent headmaster fails to maintain order among the pupils. Dani develops a strong case of chair envy.
The badminton practice will be held in the main hall, in here.
Our assemblies look like that, Amber, where everyone's stood.
Yeah.
No. We have chairs.
You have chairs?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't get chairs till
We did get chairs.
We got chairs maybe in year 10, definitely in year 11, but never prior to that.
We didn't. It was always sitting on the floor.
Sit on the floor.
Cross-legged.
I remember sitting on the floor.
This head teacher just can't
I
control
feel
women.
like the headmaster should be like Dumbledore and like shout silence.
Yeah. Why is he even bothering to speak if no one's listening?
Yeah.
A company called Abyss Modem arrives at the school and offers a promotional deal, giving a free laptop computer to every pupil. Amber looks particularly suspicious of this level of generosity.
What are your thoughts, Amber, on going to school and being told you could take a computer home?
I'd find it probably a bit suspicious because like teachers aren't really that nice these days. So they'll give like away like loads of free laptops.
No. And back then, computers were even more pricey.
Yeah.
The obnoxiously swotty pupil, Olivia, is whisked away by Abyss Modem to do some publicity photos. This leads Dani to be horrified at the school's non-existent duty of care. What's that, Dan?
Saying, would you be happy if you weren't smiling, if you got separated from these people?
No, not really.
You've been taken to this weird, dark, dingy place.
The dingy warehouse.
And you've been told, you're coming for some photographs, but this doesn't feel like that.
I mean, a bunch of men taking a single girl to a dark, dingy warehouse.
Yeah, it's very...
And the safeguarding was appalling. Oh, well, we need to get the headmaster's permission. Oh, well, he's given me his blessing.
But not only that, would you not also be like, well, that might be, but at the same time, the child needs to have parental permission for this.
Yeah, they do. Marcy Hatter is beginning to get on Dani and Amber's bad side.
How many people know how a simple light switch works? We're all in the dark, and it's getting darker.
Notice how she's dressed. Any thoughts, guys?
She's wearing a rainbow belt.
She is wearing a rainbow belt, yeah.
She's also wearing shorts.
She's not wearing pastels, is she?
The green.
Shorts are kind of pastel-y.
But it's like an old-fashioned blouse almost, isn't it? It's like she's very different in how she's dressing,
Yeah.
not in the
Different
fashion.
in how she talks as well.
Yes, she just talk very...
Call her pretentious.
Yeah.
She's the kind of person who, when I was at school, it was the kind of girl who thought she was better than other people. Without it being nasty, she's just got that vibe about her.
Yeah.
I'm smarter because I see the bigger picture. so I'll talk in this weird, convoluted way.
Strange and sinister things are happening to Olivia the SWAT at Abyss Modem. Amber has a theory.
I think she's overheated it. Overclocked it. Yeah.
I think they're trying to, kill her or something because she's good at computers.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah. So you think because Olivia's the top of the computing club, they're trying to wipe her out?
Yeah.
Nobble her before she can do anything?
Noble one.
Yeah, nobble.
She's weird, isn't she, for saying that?
Nobble's a word.
It's an old person word.
Okay, I'm an old person then. The closing credits of the episode roll, and the penny finally drops for Dani over the actress playing Reet.
I thought it was Kate Winslet.
Ah, I was wondering if you guys recognised her.
I sort of thought it was Kate Winslet, but then I thought, she looks really young. I know she would have been, but I thought she looks really young.
Did you recognise her, Amber?
No.
It's Kate Winslet from Titanic.
When she was sat outside on the wall at the very beginning, I was like, God, she looks like Kate Winslet.
This is her first major role. Dani begins to suspect Mr Eldritch's supernatural nature. I wonder if the clue is in the name.
Is the name
National
Eldritch
Grid back online.
have any significance? Because in D&D there's Eldritch Blast and things like that.
Well, Eldritch terrors go back to Cthulhu and H.P. Lovecraft, so it's probably just referencing that.
Fair.
I reckon. The unsociable elderly neighbours, Mr and Mrs Polzinski, seem to have more idea of what is happening than anyone else.
Please, we've been here years. We cannot run. We ran before. We run now.
I want to know what they know.
Counting down.
Oh yeah,
I want to know what they do.
I want to know.
the old couple.
Yeah.
Well, might find out soon enough. An image slowly downloads onto the computer. Mr Eldritch's Abyss modems were definitely not broadband.
That's taking me back.
What the?
The loading of a picture.
Slow, just gradually filling the screen.
Yeah. It wasn't like it is nowadays where you went online and it just appeared straight away, Amber. You'd go onto Google to look for an image and the pictures would just come line by line.
And take forever.
Yeah.
And then maybe not finish loading.
Yeah.
Miss Maitland gets called an old woman by Marcy. Dani seems to be wondering why Marcy hasn't got herself punched yet.
But look at us. 2 old women and 2 little kids. Unbeatable.
I'd be so annoyed.
Being called old
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah.
She is cheeky, isn't she? Marcy?
No, she's not cheeky. She's full on rude.
You and me, boy.
She didn't even bother to actually say his name.
Or even say, do you want to come along? You're coming.
Yeah. So we've reached the halfway mark. Let's see what Amber and Dani think so far. We just finished episode 3. What are your thoughts so far?
It's alright.
It's alright.
I feel like it was kind of fun just because of the whole idea that he's trying to control everyone. But then I kind of don't get how they did it so fast. Like, they just went in and ran away from the guards, got their friends, and then a professor just went on keyboard and then
Hacked it. Yeah, it was a bit rushed.
Yeah, you're doing 3 episodes and you built it up for the first 2 and then the 3rd episode's like, wham bam, thank you man, we're done now.
Yeah, because I guess Marcy and her friends didn't actually achieve anything going in that place. They didn't do well.
You could argue they attacked Mr Eldritch enough so that he got distracted and then blasted with the hacked programme.
Episode 4 now, and the start of a new adventure for Marcy, Reet and Thomas. Dani challenges Marcy's knowledge of archaeology.
Good. A bulldozer on an archaeological dig. Not exactly subtle. It's like trying to sew wearing boxing gloves.
But they are used!
They use different tools for different parts of the dig.
They literally would use that to get the top layer done.
Yeah.
It's quicker. They don't care about the top layer.
Marcy's abuse of her friends once again rankles Dani and Amber. They are really, really starting to hate her now.
Oh, you two. You two hold me back.
I'm really
It's a joke,
surprised they're
Master,
still
here.
friends with her.
Yeah.
Because I think if she talked to me like that all the time, I'd just be like, do you know what, love? F off.
You agree, Amber?
Yeah.
Just be like, why is she bossing her friends around so much and why are they putting up with it?
Yeah.
Something terrible howls down in the darkness.
What do we do? What do we do?
We can go back or we can go on.
Back.
On!
I'd have gone back as well, Amber.
You'd have both gone back.
Yeah.
Like, yep. Dani begins to pick up on the Nazi undertones of Miss Pendragon. The reason she's wearing a turban is because she didn't want to dye her hair blonde.
That makes sense. You're very, Nazi-esque.
Feels Nazi-esque.
You know, because they're all
Blonde.
and perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
You noticed that, Amber?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels like they're trying to rip off Indiana Jones a little bit.
They did reference it, didn't they, at one point? They said it in Temple of Doom.
The only one that doesn't really have the Nazis in it.
Yeah.
Marcy, where are we? I can't see a flipping thing.
Meanwhile, Marcy continues to verbally abuse Thomas.
There was a window, a door opened.
But why?
One day, Thomas, I'm going to buy you a t-shirt with a great big question mark on it.
And yet, previous episodes, she's annoyed. He's not asking why.
Yeah, it's very...
I really can't stand this girl.
She's very difficult to keep up with.
Just really annoy you.
And things do not improve.
Yes. Oh, Thomas, I knew you weren't a waste of space. Well, not always.
A lot of shaking heads here.
But she's just so horrible.
She said she hated him, but if she does, why is she keeping him there?
And also, why is he hanging about?
I'd just run back out.
Yeah, just be like, well, do it yourself.
Miss Pendragon explains the Behemoth computer to Thomas, but Dani thinks Thomas ought to be rather more impressed or intimidated by what he is hearing.
It's just a machine.
Be quiet! Let him prattle. The jabbering of the common herd can't stop us now.
Can I just say, if you've experienced a symbiotic computer previously
Yeah.
that does quite a lot of, interesting and amazing things, you wouldn't just go, oh, it's just a machine, would you?
No, you'd probably be more open-minded, I guess, at that point.
People are like, why, what does this machine do?
Not just a machine after what we've been through.
Yeah.
A black car rolls up at the school and an unseen figure emerges. Dani already has her suspicions.
Is he back?
Who's back?
Mr Eldritch. He's in his nemesis car. He's in his nemesis car.
The Behemoth has risen and nuclear Armageddon is beckoning. Miss Pendragon wants a member of the Aryan master race to merge with the Behemoth. Amber wonders if maybe Mr Eldritch, with his blonde hair, would be a better candidate.
Into the light. Into the light.
Since he's blonde, why couldn't they have used him?
Excellent question. Why couldn't they have used Eldritch?
Because he's the leader and he don't want to be part of it.
Oh no, he doesn't want
He's
to get...
telling them what to do.
Yeah.
He knows what he does.
He's not stupid.
Yeah. Gets lackeys to do it for him.
Turns out Eldritch really would be a better candidate to merge with the Behemoth. Behemoth is left with no choice but to commit suicide, rather than allow Eldritch to destroy the world. When his plans fail, Eldritch vanishes without a trace.
Where has he disappeared to?
That's the thing, he just disappeared, didn't he? You look like you're having a breakdown, Dan. Dan's face is in her hands and Amber is laughing. Does it make sense, Dan?
No.
No. And that's the end of Dark Season, so let's see what Dani and Amber's thoughts were. So that was Dark Season. What are your thoughts, guys?
It was alright.
It was alright.
I did not really expect any of that to happen.
What, when you say all of it, you mean the Nazi AI computer?
Yes, I was not expecting that. I thought it was like a mythical creature or something.
Yeah. Does that mean you were disappointed?
It would have been more fun if it was like a mythical creature.
Yeah. What did you think of how it was two stories that came together in the end?
Lots of computers.
Yeah, it's all computer themed.
I didn't mind the two stories being together and the fact that the computers weren't his only plan.
No, he had the Behemoth as well.
Yeah.
What did you think? Did you enjoy the first part or the second part?
I enjoyed the first more.
With the computers. What about you, Amber?
I don't really know, because they had the same kind of story. Like, it builds up in the first two, and then in the last one it happens really fast.
And then resolving it.
Yeah.
And Eldritch, in this case, just disappearing randomly.
And Marcy doesn't seem to care. And he's already had two attempts at world domination. Yes, they fail, but like we'll just let him go so he can, you know, achieve this third time.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you two think of Dark Season?
Yeah, I'm curious to know this. I have no idea. Amber was very tight-lipped yesterday.
I'll let Amber go first, seeing as it is aimed at your age group.
I liked the overall the storyline.
Yeah.
Except I felt like in the Behemoth, they could have made it like a mythical creature or like a supernatural one.
So you'd have liked more of a supernatural element rather than it being another computer?
Yeah.
How did you find the pacing? So we talked about early Doctor Who being slow. Was this too slow or was it just right?
Well, I liked the build-up in the first 2 episodes to like the resolution and the problem. But like I felt like when they fixed it, it was quite fast. It was just like, bang, it's done.
Yeah. And you felt the same for the second part of the series?
Yeah.
Because it was 6 episodes, but divided into 2 parts, almost. So you had 2 separate stories, but then they actually come together and are connected. So what did you think of that structure? It wouldn't have been better if it was just one story, do you think?
I liked it. I think it is better with the 2 combined.
Okay.
How about, just to put it out there, what if every episode was an individual story, so you had 6 stories instead of 2?
I feel like that would make it more interesting, I guess.
Is that because it'd be a pacing thing? Because obviously they'd have to put everything they've put into those like 3 episodes into one.
Yeah.
It might be more rushed or...
They might have to make the episodes longer.
Yeah, they'd be like modern Doctor Who, wouldn't they? 50-minute episodes then.
Yeah, I think they would have to make them longer. I think the issue with Dark Season was budget was an issue because it was conceived as basically just a gap filler because Tony Robinson wanted to take a year off from making Maid Marian.
Might have even had the same budget, so it was the same producer.
I mean, that does seem to be a common thing on BBC shows where they replace some standard drama and they replace it with sci-fi but give it the same budget.
Blake Seven.
Blake Seven being a classic example.
Because they've got studios booked, haven't they?
It was replacing a cop show and they just said, right, we'll keep the same budget. Then it makes it look poor as a result. So what were your thoughts, Dan?
I thought it was alright. If it was on when I was a kid, I probably would have watched it. I wouldn't be somebody who talks about watching it again or saying, oh yeah, I really remember that show. It'd be one of those ones where like you probably could say to me now something that I've watched and I went, alright, fair. It was okay, I think, for me, watching it.
Is that okay now?
Yeah. Like, wasn't horrible or anything, just wasn't great either.
Yeah.
I didn't like the main character.
Marcy.
Can't stand her. And so she's annoyed me from the get-go. The ineptitude of the adults, which I understand, it's a trope in a lot of kids' stuff, when kids find stuff and then like, adults don't listen to them. I get that. But the general ineptitude of like the teacher, like, oh yeah, Olivia, that's fine. You go off with this random bloke who looks shady AF.
Yes.
And you know, let's be honest, I'm not going to double check any safeguardings here on making sure it's okay for you to leave.
Yeah, just assumed, oh, right, this guy says he got permission.
Yeah. Well, no, he didn't get permission. He got his blessing.
Yeah, it's like, wait, yeah, but I still need to check that.
Yeah. So I just, it was okay. My big philosophy from this.
Yeah. So you think you would have watched it as a kid?
I probably wouldn't have gone out of my way to watch it. It'd have been one of those things where if it was on a Tuesday or a Thursday when I was at Grandma's, because what we used to do, we'd have tea at Grandma's, and it was on the TV, I'd have probably watched it. I missed it, I miss it, but I would have watched it because it was on.
I watched it, funnily enough, on a Thursday at Grandma's while having tea.
Because it was repeated in your lifetime, wasn't it, Dani?
Was it?
Yes, it was, in 1994, and then 2002.
I don't really think you can count 1994 for my lifetime as if something I would have watched and remembered.
You'd have been 3. Yeah.
And what was the other one? 2002?
I thought it was 2.
Oh, 2.
2002.
Okay, I would have been the right age at 2002 because I'd have been 11.
But you would have needed cable or satellite to watch it.
We did have it.
Okay, we did have cable. My problem was I was a CITV girl, not a CBBC girl.
Yeah.
It's where me and Rebecca differed.
I watched
in our
both.
childhood. Yeah, but every time we were at Grandma's, you were always on BBC, like CBBC, and I was always on CITV. We never really watched the same.
No.
Different rooms, pretended we didn't know each other.
So what programmes would you have been watching while Rebecca was watching a repeat of Dark Season?
No idea.
Tots TV with
T-Bag.
Zadora.
TV
Wolf.
wouldn't have been out when that I
Bernard's
was
Watch.
younger.
I don't know what was on around
1994.
then.
Yeah, but that's... You can't say something I'd watched when I was 3 or 4 to something what I watched when I was older.
I misunderstood the question.
2002.
Yeah.
I remember you watching Sonic Underground.
There we go. I remember watching Digimon. I
Yes,
loved Digimon.
Digimon.
I'm one of the few people that probably really loves Digimon over Pokemon.
Yes, you watched Sabrina?
Love Sabrina. Teenage
Sabrina
Witch.
the Teenage Witch.
Great.
SMTV, I remember you watching
SMTV
that.
Live was great, but that was a Saturday morning thing.
Yeah,
Was that the Ant and Dec one?
Yeah, and Deck with Wonky Donkey.
Oh, everyone watched that, John.
I didn't.
It's SMTV is what launched Pokemon essentially in the UK.
Oh,
The
I
anime.
didn't know that.
They had their own they do their own little skits of
Yeah, I
like
remember doing
friends called
sketches
chums.
with Cat Dealey.
Yeah, Cat Dealer.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Children's Ward? I can't remember.
No, I never watched Children's
I
Ward.
watched some of Children's Ward. That ran for a long time, didn't it?
I wasn't very into it. I'd glance at it and then be like, and turn over to see BBC.
Russell T Davies wrote some of Children's Ward.
Yeah, I still found it
I
rubbish.
think that was his second drama job after Dark Season. So you know what you would have been watching instead of Dark Season's repeat then?
Yeah, things like that.
The 2002 repeat, you mean?
No, the 1994 repeat when I was watching Teletubbies and Tots TV.
So who were your favourite characters, Amber?
I liked Reet and Thomas.
Did you know that the actress that plays Reet is now mega famous in Hollywood?
Yes.
Because I told her yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, right, that's the stuff I haven't heard yet.
But if Rebecca hadn't told you, would you have known?
Probably not.
No, because you said you didn't know who she was.
Because she was 15, it was her first main role on television. She's good as Reet. I think they're all good, but you just wouldn't think, oh, she's going to have a stellar career. But, you know, like Rebecca said at the beginning of the podcast, she's come back to do another season of it with Big Finish.
I know.
No hesitation whatsoever, because she loved making Dark Season.
Well, you're assuming no hesitation. We don't know what.
No.
She might have hesitated on the phone going,
That's what she said, but...
okay.
Yeah, we're offering you peanuts to work for Big Finish, but Russell T Davies is involved.
Maybe it's that thing of knowing it was her first gig.
Mm.
It's what got her into the career that she's in. Knowing that RTD has become a big name helps.
Yeah.
She very much, when I've seen her in other interviews for other things, she seems to like to want to give back to people who've given her a leg up and things like that. So,
okay.
I wonder if it's that related.
Which characters did you like?
I'm in agreement. I loved Reet and Thomas.
Oh.
They were my favourite characters. They were more realistic as teenagers for me.
That's the thing I noticed, because I've seen people say Dark Season, the child actors are not annoying, they're quite good, they are good.
Yeah.
And they're not from that painful stage school sort of acting you got, the productions like in the 80s, like Chucky and Box of Delights, where I call it the I can see you acting.
You could totally just watch them and think they were teenagers. You weren't watching a TV show, you were just watching two teenagers. Like, if I was 15, I could see that they were being my friends, not just, actors playing teenagers. And I know they were teenage actors, but, some of the lines every so often were a bit a bit cringe. And you could tell it was a bit cringe. But it was one of those things where I could imagine being 15 and you saying something a bit cringe to your friend and them looking at you going, all right. and you'll have a laugh and that's it. Yeah, but more believable. But personally, I hated Marcy, and that's just me saying that.
You didn't like Marcy either, did you, Amber?
No. She was just, really rude and arrogant.
I agree. I found she was quite a pretentious character.
Yeah.
I felt like she was very much, look at me, I'm the smartest one here, you're not smart enough. And the way she talked to Reet and Thomas, if I was one of them, I'd just tell her to bog off. She wouldn't be my friend anymore if she were going to keep talking to me like that.
Yeah, you're both saying yes, they're saying why are they still with her?
Yeah.
Because she treats them so badly.
It's like saying to Thomas, oh, you're not useless yet.
You hold me back.
Kind of thing. And it's like, what? You don't talk to your friends like that.
It's funny, Dan, because I said to Kevin yesterday that you both hated Marcy, and Kevin said that was surprised him because he said when he first met you, you reminded him of Marcy.
No! I hate you, Kevin! No!
That's what he thought when he first met you. Thought she's like Marcy Hatter.
I mean...
So that makes Rebecca and Kevin Reet and Thomas then.
Oh no, I mean... probably because I'm Bolcher, I think might be...
Bolcher, yeah.
Yeah, that might be what it is.
Speak your mind.
I speak my mind, I'm loud, yeah. You get what you see with me. But I'm not happy with this.
A lot of people talk about Marcy being almost like a proto-female doctor, and yeah, she is much more, I think she's more arrogant and doesn't treat her friends very well.
Well, that's like Sherlock Holmes. He doesn't show much affection, does he?
No, but I guess...
Even though he's very fond of Watson.
I guess that would make him almost like the Ninth Doctor then. You stupid apes.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. You liked Reet and Thomas. Did you like anyone else, Amber?
I like the teacher.
Oh yeah, Miss Maitland.
Yeah. I did find it funny how Marcy kept mentioning that the teacher was old.
Oh yeah.
She wouldn't even be old now. She was only in her 40s.
I was about to say she looked like she was in her 40s.
Yeah.
And Thomas said, oh yeah, I thought she was 90. And it's like, I don't think she's even that now.
No.
No.
Yeah, Bridget Forsyth is in Still Open All Hours, which seems to fill the hole that lasted the Summer Wine Left Behind, where it's a similar kind of sitcom where you've got older cast members and lots of breakout characters.
Did it feel futuristic to you? Because it was clearly set in 91, but they were trying to make it futuristic with all the school children wearing those kind of pastel, multicoloured outfits, kind of a metrosexual look.
It did not feel futuristic for me. What about you, Amber?
It didn't feel futuristic, but I did like the pastels.
I think that was a deliberate move just to make it feel like it wasn't now, so to speak, when you were watching it.
See, I thought it felt of the time. I know pastels wasn't a thing, but the horrendous colour combos and the kinds of clothes and the neon bag that Rebecca did have.
Yes, I recognise one of the bags. I had that bag at the time.
All just felt to me like it was just a very dated period.
So in trying to make it look different or futuristic, they've actually dated themselves.
Yeah.
Plus Marcy's the one that dresses traditionally and is the opposite of everyone else, wearing the big cardigan and the cargo
and
type
the blouse.
Shorts. Yeah, and the blouse. And of course the backpack with a paddle in.
She's meant to be this very clever person, and then she has this really literal metaphor carrying it around. It was just like, really?
Even watching it, knowing it's supposed to be set in the late 90s, you forget.
I did. I felt the same, but it is close to the end of a millennium, isn't it? We don't quite say what year, but Eldritch coming back is an end of a millennium thing, isn't it?
They do talk a lot about the end of the century. They're obsessively talking about the end of the 20th century. But to be fair, that was a thing at the time. People thought the world was going to end. People believed the Millennium bug was going to destroy all our computers and nuke the world and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I was
Y2K!
I was there midnight 1999, December the 31st, with my box of matches and candle to hand, just in case everything went out.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
No.
I'm going to say, that sounded a bit... What?
You're not funny, Dad.
Thanks.
Ooh,
Cut that bit
nice.
out. Cut that bit out.
That has to go in.
Yes, you're not funny, Dad. We love it.
Right, this is your first and last appearance on the podcast, Amber. So...
What do you guys think of its approach to portraying computers as dangerous, almost mysterious machines that can be used and manipulated for evil purposes?
Is this about Microsoft?
Dad, you're not funny.
In 91, the idea of every child being given a laptop, effectively free, would have been like winning the lottery. Whereas computers and tablets and thing are everywhere for you, and they're just normal, aren't they?
Yeah.
It was a trope at the time because you had shows like Are You Afraid of the Dark, which was a children's show in America at the time by Nickelodeon, and they also adopted this trope of treating the computer as a dangerous magical box that can do anything, and oh no, it's taking you over and it's got gremlins in it or whatever.
If I was to make a movie, which I am not, I probably wouldn't have thought of computers that can manipulate you.
It was a thing, they just did that in films a lot at the time where computers could almost do anything and people didn't really understand them or how they worked.
They're just kind of mysterious and unknown. But it's interesting, those home computers they're given, they are genuine laptops.
Yes.
Toshiba's from the late 80s. But to me, they look more like the word processors that were also around the time. But it just looks, well, dated now, even to me who can appreciate older programs.
You notice how they gave the teachers a different computer model?
Oh, the ones in the classroom?
Yeah.
The full,
full
IBM-type
computer,
desktop, yeah. When I was at school a bit before all of you, my junior school had one computer. It was a BBC Master, I think, and it was on a stand. It had a 5-inch floppy disk drive, which no pupil was allowed to take the disk in or out. It had to be done by a teacher. You know, it was like, oh, you could break it, it could crash, or whatever, just by touching it. And it was on a trolley taken around classrooms, so your class would have a turn on it that day or whatever.
Yeah, computers, even in the mid-90s, were very expensive, was uncommon. I mean, I got a PC in 1995 and I didn't know anyone else my age who had one. And computers back then were still treated as these really precious, expensive luxuries because you'd put dust jackets on your computer. Can you believe that, Amber? After you finished using your computer, you had to cover it with a dust jacket on the keyboard and the monitor.
Okay.
Does it sound weird to you, Amber?
Kind of.
You were told if you don't do it, you will not be allowed to use it anymore. And
It would be hard.
yeah, it just seems so weird now. I don't even remember when we stopped doing that.
No, I was trying to think then. I remember being a kid and we used to do it. Like you said, you'd put the dust jacket over and stuff.
Yeah, over the keyboard,
then,
over the monitor.
Yeah, and then I remember as well, like Mum had a special brush for cleaning in between the keyboards as well.
Oh, what? Yes.
And that, and it was just like you could just pick it up and shake it. When Dark Season came out, it was 91, wasn't it? So how old were you, John?
I was 16 or 17 when it came out.
And did you watch it when it first aired?
I did, although I was working, so I would have set the video or got my mum to record it for me.
What made you like it so much?
It reminded me of Doctor Who, because I'd grown up watching Doctor Who in the 80s, and by the time it ended, I would consider myself a fan. And here was something like, 2 years later, after it had ended in 89, it's like, oh, this feels like Doctor Who. The whole thing with Marcy being a bit like the Doctor, the mystery, the villain, the action, adventure kind of thing was all there. And, of course, the science fiction idea of computers being bad.
Yeah, I get that. Were you watching it in 2002? Like, I remember that's the year I went to high school. Yeah, make you feel old. It's great.
Yes, yes. That often happens on this podcast.
You're nearly 50.
Bless you.
48. 2 years.
But as previously mentioned, the whole Y2K scare.
Yes.
Rewatching about computers taking control, did that have a different impact in 2002 to you? How you felt about it?
Not really. Probably just a nostalgia thing. I suppose the idea of Behemoth and the AI ending the world could still be plausible.
Did you actually watch it on its 2002 repeat?
I think I did. I remember hearing that it was happening. By then I would have been buying Doctor Who magazine and TV Zone as well. So I would have been aware it was going to be on. And I didn't have a copy of it. And obviously, it never got a video release.
No.
And the DVD wasn't until 2006.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, Russell T Davies was suddenly popular. So BBC...
I don't know why.
They rush released that and his other series from 93, Century Falls. And now they're like ultra rare and expensive.
Because of the London riots of 2011. Running theme here with Vector Starcops as well.
As of today, it's now the 15th of January 2023, it's currently going on eBay for about £50 for Dark Season.
Yeah,
about the average
I won't
price.
pay that.
I would not pay that.
I would like a copy. I regret not buying it at the time, but other priorities. I had a Doctor Who habit to keep going. I rewatched it on BritBox for this, but
it's currently on BritBox.
Along with Century Falls. But,
Really?
that's not to keep, though. That's
No,
that's not to keep.
That's the
unfortunately.
drawback.
Yeah.
Would you want to keep it down?
No.
No, because you said to me yesterday, I'd like to, but I wouldn't watch it again.
It's one and done for me.
One and done.
I don't
How
know.
about you, Amber? Would you watch it again?
Maybe.
So, did you watch it when it first came out?
Yes, I did.
And you were 7.
I was 7
I
at
know
the time.
her age because I can do this. I can do maths.
I can do math. Yes, I was 7 years old when Dark Season aired, and as far as I can think of, it was the first drama series I'd ever seen, and I was hooked. I was absolutely ecstatically excited about it. I was just like, this is amazing. I got obsessive about it. I had to watch it every week. Of course, I'd never seen Doctor Who at the time, so there was no comparison factor for me there. It was just this new, exciting TV show, and it was really cool, and I hoped it was going to come back, and it didn't. Yeah. I didn't see the repeat in 2002, though, because at that point, I'm doing A-levels, going to uni, more into things like horror films at the time and music and going to concerts.
Yeah. There was a novelisation published at the time.
Yeah,
when did you hear about that? Or
after every episode, they would always advertise it on CBBC with an ident card going, look, you can buy the novel. And I wasn't allowed to get it. I asked Mum, can I get it? No. That was that.
Did Mum ever say why?
No, she always said that
you'd buy everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get the book until years later from a charity shop. My mum had also bought a copy from another charity shop independently of mine. Since she passed away, I now have 2 copies. I don't know if they're as rare as the DVD, but I'll hang on to that spare, just in case.
Did your mum watch Dark Season?
Yeah, she would have watched it with me. She obviously remembered it and bought the book for herself. She liked science fiction and some fantasy. She didn't get into Doctor Who as much as I was, but she was a person that started me watching it when I was about 4 or 5.
Interesting. Yeah, so it's interesting because Dark Season, even though it's made for kids, it does seem to appeal to adults, or at least adults who are already into sci-fi like Doctor Who.
There wasn't much of it, so...
Amber, do you think it would appeal to kids now? Do you think if it was shown, if it was repeated now, let's say?
Depending on probably what their age is, maybe a few people would watch it.
You don't think it'd go viral then, like some of the other shows?
Not really.
No.
What did you like and what didn't you like?
I liked the pastel outfits.
Yeah.
I also liked most of the characters, not really Marcy though, because she was kind of rude.
I remember you were both constantly putting your head in your hands while watching because you just...
I wish I'd seen that now.
Anything else, Amber?
I thought it was kind of weird how they didn't really bother to clean up the classroom because Dani noticed it.
Oh, yeah. So later on in the second story, we had Reet and Mrs. Maitland looking at maps and things in the classroom, but Dani and Amber were like, why is there glass still from the earlier episode when Olivia walked in glowing?
Wasn't that, though, from the earth tremors caused by Behemoth waking up?
It shook the school and it broke the glass in the windows, which was clear glass.
Yeah.
But these were tables that were from the other side of the room, covered in the exact same white glass that was from the light bulbs from the previous episode.
So they just filmed it on the same day.
They filmed it on the same day, which I'm not gonna, boo that, but clean up. A bit of continuity, you know what I mean?
The school's got a very, very lax janitor.
Evidently. I mean, at one point in the background, he was sweeping part of the floor that was already clean. That made me laugh.
He didn't do a great job.
No, he really didn't.
To be honest, what did you guys think of the school, the way it was run?
Head teacher wasn't really in control of the students.
Yeah.
The headmaster
was incompetent.
I like the way he said that the school chess club has lost.
Yeah.
You only ever saw you saw a handful of teachers in that assembly, but you never actually knew of any other teachers, to be fair.
No, you didn't.
They didn't have a budget for it. I'm surprised they had enough children for that assembly scene.
Oh, yeah, but even so, that doesn't explain the chaos of the school. There was no control in any of the classes we saw. You just got no impression that anything was ever really being taught or learned. It was almost like watching Waterloo Road Season 1 when the school was absolute carnage.
Maybe it's a commentary on the modern school system.
Well, they didn't even have a uniform, which was very odd, wasn't it, Amber?
Yeah.
For secondary school.
I wonder if the school aspect was just a second part of it. Like, it was never the forefront. They didn't really actually care about They had to put some scenes in where the kids were in class, but it was never actually the point of the show.
Other than it just being
that it
revolved
kids,
around school because that's where the kids were. So, Amber, Marcy says to Miss Maitland, "No one listens to me because you won't listen to a child." Now, it's a staple of fiction that children are never listened to. So, if you're in that position, how would you get a teacher or an adult to listen to you?
I'd probably be too shy to tell them, and they'd probably think I'm mad anyway.
Well, Miss Maitland thinks Marcy's delusional, doesn't she?
Well, notice her surname's Hatter.
Yeah, I wonder if that's deliberate.
And also it's M. Hatter.
Yes.
M. Hatter. Whoa, we found a metaphor, a subtext. Yeah, how would you convince them, Amber?
I'd probably try and show them, to be honest, because it would make it easier, because people don't really believe stuff until they've seen it.
Seeing is believing.
A big thing in this was Marcy saying even when people see it, they don't believe it. Like Olivia glowing. People come up with rational reasons. Oh, it's the gas leak.
The light through the window or hysteria. But like you said, you could have evidence because now with a smartphone you could take video or photos.
But even when the teacher saw Olivia glowing in front of her face, she still didn't believe.
If, say, you struggled with the teacher, would you potentially go to somebody else who might listen to you?
I'd listen to you.
But you're not a teacher.
No. He probably wouldn't take you seriously though, Amber. He'd probably make stupid jokes.
He'd make really bad dad jokes.
Yeah. That's true.
Russell T Davies wrote a novelisation of Dark Season, and in it at the end, unlike the TV series, he ended it with a hint of more stories to come, where a new arcade opens up in town full of the latest gaming cabinets, implying maybe Eldritch is behind that or connected to it in some way. So if Dark Season had got a second season, do you think you would have watched it?
Maybe, just to see what happens with Eldritch. Because he just, like, disappeared.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it was like he was in the chair, then the shot was away, then the shot was, oh, look, the chair's empty again.
Yeah, it's like,
And it was like,
how?
but how? Where's he gone? What's happened?
I don't know, I didn't like that, because it was a bit, like,
No.
strange.
I mean, it makes it clear that he's definitely not human then, and he's some supernatural creature, isn't he? I mean, even the name Eldritch means supernatural or unnatural.
Why would we, the audience, think he's supernatural when there's been no supernatural anything in the show?
Oh, that's true. It's all been technical, but then talking about end of millenniums and chaos, that is a kind of magic thing, isn't it?
What if he's a robot?
It's a good point. Could be.
Could be an android.
And he teleported out of Behemoth. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I do feel like there are supernatural references and fantasy kind of references because, like we've said, Eldritch itself has got that kind of thing. And the fact that, like, the second story, she's going on about, this creature. She does mention, I think she's kind of mentioned it as a creature.
Yeah.
Although I don't think she says creature, but the way it's implied how she speaks
It is. Yeah.
But also, like, her name was Pendragon, and Pendragon makes me think of, like, Wales and
myths,
mythology and...
Arthur.
Yeah, so Pendragon did kind of anthropomorphise the Behemoth, which turned out to be a computer.
So I do feel like there is hints of that, whilst making it still sci-fi and pushing, like, the technology part. Let's say you've been around a few thousand years, why wouldn't you use technology in your aid to destroying the universe? Might as well.
He says he uses other people's work to bring about chaos, and it's even better now because he could do it with nuclear weapons since Behemoth is connected up to the Western world's nuclear arsenal.
Did you think the title suited the show?
Oh, nobody hurt me. I know it was technically the 90s, and I know that RTD's Doctor Who hadn't come back, but I just felt like it was a really knock-off version of a Doctor Who, like, intro. Like, the visuals.
Yeah, see, I was
The
going to
swirling
ask you,
thing.
It is quite similar to Doctor Who.
did you like the theme tune?
Yeah, I've already forgotten what it sounds like, though.
It's still in my head.
It's still in my
from
head.
this rewatch.
I'm with Amber. I've forgotten what it actually sounds like, but I remember I liked the sound of it.
Yeah, I did as well.
But I couldn't tell you what it went like at all. My brain just gone, "Ugh." And I suppose the music in itself as well had that Doctor Who feel. I know Doctor Who has its specific, like, theme song kind of thing, but it still screamed knock off.
Yeah, the swirl. It makes you think of that swirly vortex kind of
It
thing.
might be cheesy, but I like the way it uses the computer font OCR
I like that.
to look futuristic. A font that was designed to be read by computers. I mean, it's still around on barcodes now.
Yeah, it's a very appropriate font.
You can see RTD recognisably using the same kind of elements in Doctor Who, in his characters. You know, he reuses names sometimes as well.
Well, yeah, because he even reuses one of the lines.
Oh, yeah.
When Reet gets trapped in that airtight room.
Yeah.
And Thomas says, stay there, don't go anywhere. And she says, where do you think I'm going to go? Ipswich. And that's what Rose says to the Doctor in The End of the World when she gets trapped in that room that's filling up with the sun that's going to burn her.
I mean,
I'm using a good
to be
line.
fair, before she said that line, even I said that line without saying where am I going to go? Yeah, well, I didn't say I'm going to go to Ipswich. Before she said anything, even like when we did the reactions, I literally went, she's going to go far, isn't she?
Yeah, where are you going to go?
Yeah.
I thought that in my mind as well.
Yeah.
What did you think of Behemoth, since we're underground with it?
I feel like it could have been bigger and looked a bit worse. Like, they could have made it more dirty or something.
Yeah, it'd been left down
20?
there 30.
In the novel, it's 20.
I'm pretty sure she mentioned the 60s and it's meant to be the 90s, so
So
it would be 30.
Well, it says 20
I know,
years in
just-
a
We're
head.
talking about the show.
We're talking
I know,
about the show.
I'm sorry.
'Cause,
Right.
unlike you, none of us have read the book, so it doesn't count.
All right, okay. Well, the Basinskis defected 30 years ago, and that was 1961. They say that in the dialogue and on screen with the computer file.
All along, everyone's looking for this professor, and it turns out it was the wife, and they've captured the husband, who doesn't seem to know much about computers, and the wife's like a pro, is hacking into the system from home because everyone's forgotten all about her. So what did you think of that bait and switch there?
I thought that was actually really smart because I don't think anyone would expect a woman to be good at that kind of stuff. But that's kind of like what it was like in the past. They used to think women, well, not recently, but like they used to think that women couldn't do as good as men, which I totally disagree with.
Right on, Amber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just cool how it was actually the wife.
It's funny because, these days people associate computers with men. But actually, if you do go back to the 40s and 50s and even 60s, it was women who were operating the computers. And originally the job title was called computer. It was referring to the women who were doing all the maths. And the women were the first ones to learn how to use the computers because it was considered more grunt work. In the Second World War, it was women who were operating Colossus at Bletchley Park, and because of the Secrets Act, all of that information, that knowledge was buried and had to be kept secret, and all these women who, after the war, they went home and they weren't allowed to tell anyone that they were operating the first computers. And now everyone's looking very sad and glum.
Yeah, sorry. Eldritch came back for the second story. Were you surprised to see him again? Did you think... I had that reaction when I first saw it.
Kind of, because in the first story, they didn't really, get rid of him or anything. All they did was just, flash him with the
cleansing program. Yeah.
Have you noticed in both stories, when things kick off, Marcy shouts, "Action!" And it's always Tom kicking or throwing his skateboard at the bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just throw a skateboard at them.
Yeah, that's what I did in my youth.
Oh dear.
Yeah, during the reactions, I remember Dani guessed Eldritch was coming back before
Oh, did you?
there was any even a shadow of an implication of him.
I did like, though, that his number plate said Nemesis.
Oh, I loved it.
And even the vans with a number plate, Abyss, whatever, yeah.
I absolutely love that. I'm a nerd. I love a registration that says words. And I literally was so excited for those bits that I think that's the thing I can take away the most from the show.
I wonder if Nemesis is actually available from DVLA.
I don't think it is because it's to do with how your letters and your numbers in it. But then the 90s were different to how it is now. I'm not going to go into the details.
No.
Nobody cares.
Anyway, moving on.
So, what did we think of Eldritch and what did we think of Miss Pendragon?
They were very passionate about their interests and what they wanted to do. Because at the end, Miss Pendragon went with the Behemoth. She didn't want to leave it because it was her creation.
She was almost fanatical about it, wasn't she?
Yeah.
So essentially, I had to be told Miss Pendragon was Serverland from Blake 7. I had to be told I hardly saw her in Blake 7.
You'd only seen a few episodes with her in.
20 years had passed.
There's only 10.
I thought it was a 70 show.
Ended 81, Blake 7.
Oh, was it only 10?
It was only 10.
Still 10. Whatever. 10 years had passed. Let's be honest, I'm not going to notice. The only person I noticed was Kate Winslet, let's put it that way. Kate Winslet. I literally sat there, right? She appeared on screen and I was like, that's Kate Winslet. I didn't say it out loud. Internally I'm going, that's Kate Winslet. No, it's not Kate Winslet. It's not Kate Winslet. No. And then at the very end, the credits came up and it was Kate Winslet.
On the DVD cover, it says in small writing, featuring Kate Winslet, because obviously she's not the lead, but that was a selling point for it as well as Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we've got this mega famous actress in this obscure CBBC programme.
100%.
But that could be another reason why it's 50 quid on eBay.
We keep calling Russell T Davies RTD, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrongly assuming that most of our listeners will know who RTD is.
We're obsessed Doctor Who fans like us who just call him RTD.
I think most people do now.
I think so.
Yeah, I think you just. And I know, earlier on when you said created by Russell T Davies, because I've got the script in front of me, you then went RTD. I think it was enough of a correlation that even if you didn't know that prior to that, I think you could guess it from his initials. It's not a big leap.
Before you ask, John, no, they didn't recognise any of the other actors.
I doubt that Dani would remember Tomb of the Cybermen. Amber hasn't seen Tomb of the Cybermen, because I think we only got as far as Hartnell with our classic Doctor Who viewing.
I'm just going to quickly say this, though. I did say the guy who played Luke was familiar, and I didn't know why he was familiar, because he's unfortunately...
he's not,
he's not really... He died young
from
bone cancer. But he did date Kate Winslet, so I'm just wondering from 91 to 95, I think I read.
Interesting, so they met
so
on
I'm just wondering if it's a case I've just seen him in old pictures of Kate Winslet, when you see
red carpets,
that kind of thing, so I don't know if it's something to do with that.
Interesting, because obviously I've not watched it for maybe 20 years, and I recognised Luke, I recognised Olivia completely, the blue outfit, the white contact, the wide glasses. I remember that exactly as I did them for the first time.
Well, I wonder what happened to the character Olivia after, because she's very much infected by whatever this computer does to her. to the point that she looks like she's going to what? Kill Marcy?
Yeah,
in that building.
Subsumed by
and
the
then
program, isn't she?
Olivia, along with Eldritch, are the only ones who scream every time a computer's hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens at the end, because like Amber says, it's also fast, and they kick a skateboard at Eldritch, and the professor hacks the computer and stops everything. And Olivia runs off with the others as though she's okay, and we never see or hear of her ever again. Is everything okay, or is she traumatised? Is there any after effects?
There's no mention of her.
Is she getting counselling? What happened to her?
What I remember of novelisation is she kind of comes around eventually and moves to a different town/school.
Ah, okay.
Where everyone hates her because she goes to a posher school. So it's the reverse of her being the nasty one towards Marcy.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's
Because
quite sad,
she was a
actually.
victim, you know.
Yeah, she was a bit of a dick as well, though, to be fair.
Of course.
She wasn't a dick.
No, she was. What person comes up, like if you were in school, today you've got to get the homework in, just like you remind you.
Yeah, I bet you haven't done
I
it.
know you, it's very passively
I guess,
nasty.
yeah.
So I'm not being funny, no, she was a dick. And I'm not saying she deserved everything, but I mean a little bit, just a tiny little bit of
I'm
it.
not sure it's passive aggressive. I think she's just weirdly enthusiastic, almost like a Sheldon.
She's very, because like she asked the teacher, she says, "Oh no, you've got a free period. You could mark my homework."
Any pupil or student who does that to a teacher, teachers don't like that.
Well, no, Miss
do it.
Maitland doesn't like her, does she?
No.
So, just going back to what I was saying about the fear of the 80s and 90s of computers, it's manifest in Terminator from 84, you know, with Skynet taking over nuclear weapons, starting a war, killing humanity, etc., etc. But there's also War Games
yeah.
from 83 with Matthew Broderick. Again, the computer that's linked up to all the West nuclear weapons. And
Another film of the time, which not necessarily showing it in a quite a negative way, but you had Electric Dreams.
yeah, but it's not a horror film.
It's still portraying computers as this mysterious magical box.
Weird Science as well. Where
Weird Science.
the boys create a program that makes manifest the woman of their dreams.
You made me think of Gem and the Holograms then for a moment, though.
That's another one.
Because I was just thinking, it's Synergy. Because
Yes, it's a computer.
She's an AI, but she's like amazing AI.
Yeah,
that is so positive.
What? I
And
don't
she
remember
ma-
this.
She'd say
I
Showtime
don't remember
Synergy,
this.
and it would create holograms, and she made holograms of all kinds of things, like lions and tigers and stuff to scare kidnappers and stuff like that.
It's great.
Anyway, it's another example. I mean, this is an 80s example
Yeah,
of,
it is.
again, amazing computer technology.
I suppose it's been a thing for a long time, hasn't it? Because I'm going to reference a film that I've not watched. It's a sci-fi film.
There's a sci-fi film you've not watched.
Yeah, but I semi-know the premise of the film.
Mm-hmm.
2001 Space Odyssey, because you've
Odyssey.
got Odyssey, right? You've got HAL 9000, don't you?
Yeah.
And how that's AI, and that AI
Goes nuts.
and takes over
Yeah,
and stuff.
so you've not seen that.
No.
But it's referenced so much.
It's referenced so much. I know that's as much as I know. And I know it's got like a red light. That's as much as I'm doing. We're not doing a what's my thoughts on a film I've never seen before, midway through a different panel.
We've not even got that on the list for possible ideas. And thank you for reminding us, Dan.
No!
We could do 2001 Space Odyssey next year.
Yeah.
Is there anything in your notes, Amber, that you want to mention, or any questions?
One of them is, why did Mr Eldritch take only girls in his lair, like Olivia and Reet?
That was a question I was wondering when watching, because it was noticeable, because both Reet and Thomas were connected to the computer, but it was Reet he kidnapped, not Tom.
Because it's a fictional cliche to kidnap women.
Yeah.
I mean, you all went down that route. I actually came up with more plausible explanation.
Yeah, because I was going down the creepy
Yeah.
men kidnapping girls route, because that's something we talked about a lot in the reaction, which is Olivia, you know, aside from the shockingly poor safeguarding by the teachers, she's basically, you know, this young teenage girl's taken away to a creepy, dark warehouse or castle or wherever, and dodgy men are just stood there going, "You stand there on the other side of this glass, we'll stare at you now."
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's none of this setting off red flags.
So yeah, to answer that question, Amber, I think it was because when Reet and this is just my opinion, I might be wrong, but when Thomas and Reet were connected to the computer, Thomas had knowledge. He had Wikipedia worth of knowledge in his head when he was connected, so he could answer questions that they asked him. But when they were on the computer screen and they were saying search, search, go on, it was Reet who was doing it. And Mr Eldritch could feel that, and he said said somebody's searching far faster than anyone has ever before. So I think she was far better at using the technology than anyone else had at that point. And I think he wanted to take her for that point of view.
So she had potential.
Yeah, he could use
See,
her.
I like that idea. And then Marcy was like, oh, it's just to make us go and save her.
Which I feel like it could be the fact that she doesn't have that information. But also I liked that moment because me not liking Marcy and her being pretentious made me just kind of feel like, haha, you don't know everything. And you faked. I know I'm childish. Can't help it. And what's your other question, Amber?
Why did most of the characters wear like the exact same clothes in the second story? Because it was supposed to be based like after.
Oh, yes. You're saying Reet, Marcy and Tom were wearing the same clothing.
3 months later.
Yeah.
Is that how long it was? 3 months?
Yeah.
That's an amazing coincidence then, they're wearing the same outfit.
And also, amazingly, that the Janet hadn't cleaned up for 3 months. That no kid has cut themselves on that glass on the tables.
Told you very late.
Yeah, really bad.
That school is so lax. It was just, they didn't control the kids. It was
Really didn't.
No one was learning anything. It was just a free-for-all.
No, it is a good question because it's like, why were they? I mean, I suppose like in cartoons, you get characters where they just wear the same clothes. I don't know if there was that kind of aspect. I mean, look at Doctor Who. Doctor Who, he always wears the same outfit. You know, the Doctor.
Depends on the Doctor.
Majority of the time, they wear the same outfit. They might change it up here and there, but how many times do you see them wearing something very not of the time period and they're going to like Victorian England and you're going, seriously, people would not mention the clothes that you're wearing kind of thing?
Yeah.
I'm just saying there is this trope of if you've got a main character, they wear the same kind of clothes.
But the boring answer is they probably didn't have the budget for
Yeah,
different
it's probably
clothes.
a budget thing.
Yeah, so all the filming was done in a 10-mile radius of London, although the Behemoth control room was filmed at Ealing Studios.
Well, that way they could have the set and the Behemoth would raise up on a platform and they could flood it.
All the school stuff was filmed in an abandoned school.
Yeah, so like the stage that got
Smashed.
the Behemoth, that was built by them as well, so they didn't have to worry about.
And the stairs that got flooded, you know, like the stone stairs,
Yeah,
they're in the school. I read that much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I read that that's in the school as well.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that was Ealing. Oh, Dani
Ah.
sneaking off to do research.
I did it this afternoon when I turned up and I got told, entertain yourself because we're not ready for you yet. So I sat on my
John
phone.
was late.
So I was sat on my phone and I thought, shall I just have a quick Google to see what I can find out about this show? That was my quick Google. So
There's not a lot out there, you know. I mentioned
No,
a
there's
couple
not.
of TV Zone articles from the mid-90s.
You don't find much online, and there are some web pages from about the early 2000s, I think, with the CBBC repeat. I haven't found much in the way of contemporary reactions or reviews.
No. Or you get the Netflix series Dark.
Yeah.
yeah, if you type in Dark Season, it literally comes up Dark and it's
Yeah,
like
I had to-
season. I was
I
like,
had to add
it's a
in
mystery
1991.
thriller.
Yeah.
But actually, I didn't have to do anything. I literally just scrolled a bit more and it appeared then.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the first thing that appeared.
Yeah, because in interviews in the 2000s, RTD was asked, was he consciously basing Marcy on the Doctor and referencing Doctor Who, and he claims he wasn't, except for the bit with the yo-yo where Reet tests gravity with yo-yo, because that's something the Doctor does.
But could you also argue that it's to do with, like, you know, licensing and what he'd have rights to and stuff? So if you admitted it,
Yeah,
it
I don't
becomes
think
a
RTD, there's a
problem.
bit of a fan thing where everyone says RTD lies, so I guess we can't necessarily trust
No.
him on that.
He had a Doctor Who line in there as well when Eldritch says, "Nothing in the world can stop me now."
Yes.
That's from a 1966 or 67 Doctor Who
The
story.
Charlton story.
Yeah, The Underwater Menace.
Also, Marcy is referenced in one of RTD's Doctor Who New Adventures books.
Damaged Goods. I don't remember the reference. And I think we mentioned a few Doctor Who actors had appeared in this as well. Cyril Shaps as Mr. Polinsky.
The headmaster was in Kinder.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. Same with Dr. Osley. He was in Happiness Patrol. Rosalie Crutchley, who played Mrs. Polzinski, she did a ton of Jack and Ori, I noticed, because it was like 26 episodes. It quite stood out. She'd been acting since like the 30s.
And the voice of Behemoth, it was...
Alan Bastard's wife.
Yes, from New Statesman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I recognised it.
As soon as I realised that, it's like, of course it is.
I had to look it up.
Because you were looking at what Luke did. I thought, what about Inga? We always forget about Inga. So I'm like looking at what Martina Byrne did, and she does voices in the Professor Layton games.
Is she really German, or was she...
Dunno.
She's Dutch.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Oh, speaking of Germans, what did you think of the wigs?
Well, they were
Mr. and Dragon's
Well,
followers?
they were wigs.
I mean,
Obviously.
the only problem I've got, right, is the fact that you said Jacqueline Pierce wore a turban because she didn't want to dye her hair.
Yeah.
But everyone else wearing a wig. They could have got a decent wig for her,
They didn't have the money for decent wigs for them, even if she's the lead character.
I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
But they could afford to dye her hair.
I think she'd probably have to
She
do that
didn't want to
herself.
dye her hair, so and she
They
probably
probably-
didn't want a wig.
Yeah.
But yeah, the child actors, other than Kate Winslet, they didn't go on to do any more acting. In fact, Victoria Lambert, who played Marcy, she became a drama teacher. Oh, and finally, RTD, he recently mentioned in an interview that one of the blonde wigged guards was the first TV role of Jeremy Sheffield.
Oh yeah, he's the one that Miss Maitland calls a little Hitler.
Yeah, since then, he went on to do loads of TV, like New Tricks, Coronation Street, but he's best known for being Patrick Blake in hundreds of episodes of Hollyoaks. And I think that brings us towards the end of the chat, so I think it's time to ask Dani for a score for Dark Season. So Dani, how many Danis out of 5 will Dark Season get?
I think it was okay. I would have watched it if it was on. I won't watch it again. I understand people's probably nostalgia feeling for it. Yeah. I don't know how many Danis to give it. Oh, 2. It's getting 2. 2.5. It's getting 2.5 and you're not getting more out of me.
Okay.
So that's average. That's like bang in the middle because I would not put it in the 3 plus territories. 2 feels harsh, but 2.5 because it was okay.
So you won't be taking the DVD home with you?
No, I won't. Unless I can flog it for 50 quid.
Well, I do need a copy.
Mates rates?
Yes, definitely.
So Amber, how many Ambers out of 5 would you give it?
I don't really want to offend anyone, so
Offend!
Oh,
Offend!
dear.
I'm a chaos goblin.
No, go on,
Offend!
Go on, Amber. Don't look at your dad. Do not look at your dad.
Yeah.
What would you
Like,
give
you
it?
can't see him. You can't see him.
Right, so being honest, what would you give it out of 5?
a 3.
Oh, that's more than I'd give, so you can't offend
I mean,
there.
I expected that from both of you, 3 or 2.5, based on how you were reacting yesterday, which was you weren't falling asleep, you weren't bored, but you were...
Yeah, it kept. I watched it. I kept to it, but it was okay.
Yeah.
I think the thing about Dark Season for me is, as a kid, as I said, I was absolutely mad on it. I thought it was brilliant. But watching it again as an adult, I could see the flaws. I was less seeing it with rose-tinted glasses when it came out on DVD, so...
I enjoyed rewatching it, and I like the sarcasm from Marcy and Reet and Thomas, and just some of the clever lines and the story. I mean, Eldritch wasn't as scary to me as an adult, but I could see the good stuff in there, and like Rebecca, obviously, I could see it's a bit dated, and just the naive view of scary computers are going to bring down the world.
So yeah, I wasn't surprised by the score you gave it, either of you.
Yeah.
So Amber, how did you enjoy your first podcast experience?
It was good.
Because you were a bit nervous at first, weren't you?
Yeah.
So what kind of shows would you like to be shown in the future if you did this again?
Maybe something different to like what I watch. Maybe modern day stuff, because he keeps showing me old stuff.
What do you define as old?
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Just to make all of us at home feel...
Ancient.
I mean, I'd like to do this to people, but this is going to hit me.
What's old?
Dark Season was from 1991, so you can use that as a reference point.
Okay. 1970s, and then
So
behind there, like,
So that's old.
yeah, that's old.
What's new?
What's the cut-off point for being new?
Maybe like the 1980s.
Okay, so you don't consider Dark Season old then?
Not that much.
No. So like Dan, 80s onwards is considered more modern.
Yeah.
Well, the 80s was like, what, 10, 20 years ago?
I know, everyone thinks, oh, the 80s, it's just about 20 years ago, and it's not, it's getting to 40.
I know.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and you'll join us next time when we journey into the fantastic future and watch the 1960s Amicus movies Doctor Who and the Daleks and Dalek Invasion Earth 2150 AD. Joining us as a guest will be Jonathan Miles. So until then, goodbye.
Bye.
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 Thank you for listening to I Don't Do Sci-Fi. If you'd like to contact us or comment on the show, email us at idon'tdosci-fi@gmail.com, Twitter at I Don't Do Sci-Fi, on Instagram I Don't Do Sci-Fi, or on Facebook I Don't Do Sci-Fi.
I Don't Do Sci-Fi was presented by John Isles, Dani Ray and Rebecca Ray, and featuring our guest, Amber Isles. The theme tune was composed by Steve Johnson, and the podcast was directed and produced by Kevin Hiley.